Welcome to the Art Settlers of New York. I'm your host, Viviana Puello, Editor-in-Chief of the ATI International Magazine, and I feel very honored for the opportunity to bring you this exciting episode. Wherever we come from, the truth is that if you are in New York as an immigrant, you understand the importance of finding a sense of community and belonging. Usually, we connect with those who share our background, and we look up to people who make a real impact in the world. They might be well-known experts, authors, researchers, journalists, innovators, business geniuses, and entrepreneurs. However, among this group of world influencers, there are also everyday people who have found a unique niche to which they are contributed at the highest level. Those that feel in their hearts and have the passion for committing their lives for a cause. And it is those leaders in our communities who make the most impact in our life, because we can talk to them, we connect with them, we interact with them, and we are inspired by their work and their success. Our guest today is a graphic artist, fine art photographer, painter, writer, activist, and arts advocate who has dedicated many years to support the Puerto Rican artists and promote the rich cultural heritage of Puerto Rico. A leader of our community and someone who has impacted the lives of many artists. His name is Luis Cordero Santoni, born in Mayagüez, Puerto Rico, and raised in El Barrio in New York. Luis now has an exciting exhibition of his works at the Luisa Capetillo Gallery located at M&N El Barrio Firehouse Community Media Center. And the exhibition started today, 21st of September. So make sure to take some time, come and visit the exhibition. Luis, welcome.
Thank you, Viviana.
It is an incredible honor to interview you.
No, the pleasure is mine, and I want to thank the El Barrio Firehouse M&N Community Media Center for allowing me the opportunity to share my artwork with the community and the people in general.
Yes, and there is so much to learn from you, but I think the first thing that I want to ask you and what I want to share with the audience is about the works that you have in exhibition here at the gallery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of the works are based on photographs that I've taken over the years. I've been kind of busy. I've been employed full-time, but this is kind of one of the things that I do in my spare time. So I've taken photos, and being a graphic artist, I also employ the Adobe creative programs so that I can give my photographs a more interesting look. It's not just a simple photograph, it's something that, has another life.
Yeah, and you're also a painter, right?
Yeah, I also paint.
Okay.
I dabble.
Was this something that was always with you?
Yes, actually, I've been always interested in the arts since I first started going to school. Yeah.
Okay. And speaking of going to school, back in the 70s, because I did a lot of research about you, your story is incredible. It's so inspiring. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You started as an activist, right? When you were in school. Can you talk to us about it?
Yeah, you have done some research.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I was back in college. I got involved with some community organizations. And my community organizations that have always been promoting Puerto Rican community and the rights of the Puerto Rican community. And if you study that period in our history, you find a lot of information about the Young Lords organization. So I was there at the time that the Young Lords were around, but I was not a member of the Young Lords because there were a lot of other organizations also, but you don't hear about them, very, very rarely. So I was part of an organization called El Comité, which was based on the Upper West Side, and was kind of, influenced by the activities of the Young Lords. So that's where I got my start, and that's where I learned my graphic arts. Okay. Because I used to collaborate in putting together the newspaper of that community group. So that's where I learned.
Okay. Were you writing as well?
I did some writing, but not that much.
Okay.
Mostly what I did was, again, because I was a full-time student, so I was helping to put together and designing the community paper. We did that for about 4 or 5 years. Again, that was in my spare time. Some people say I was a professional student because it's like I didn't want to leave school.
Okay. Well, later in 1998, and this is in your spare time. You co-founded the first Puerto Rican cultural center outside of Puerto Rico, Centro Cultural Puertorriqueño de Nueva York. How did that impact the community?
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. Yes, that was one of my community activist events and stuff, and it was right here in El Barrio in New York City, East Harlem, and we basically started just a few artists, a few people who were getting together, and some of us had contact with the Institute for Puerto Rican Culture in Puerto Rico on the island. The institute is basically made up of different cultural centers. Every town in the island has a cultural center that's affiliated to the Institute for Puerto Rican Culture. So what we did is we decided, hey, there's time that maybe we have a cultural center affiliated to the institute that is outside of Puerto Rico. So we were able to contact them. They loved the idea, and we went ahead and we created a cultural center here in New York City, and it was the first one outside of Puerto Rico that was affiliated to the Institute for Puerto Rican Culture. Now you have one in Chicago, and you have one in Texas, I believe, and another one in Florida. The one in New York, we kind of disbanded years ago. But, we were the first ones.
Can you take us back to those times? How was the community? How was the Puerto Rican community? What was happening in New York City back then?
Well, back in the 70s and 80s, there were more Puerto Ricans. So the Puerto Rican community was more together, and there were more institutions that were servicing their needs, especially in the arts. And we still have a few that are still around, like El Taller Boricua and El Museo del Barrio, which we founded back 50 years ago, actually. But there were a few others. There was Galeria Mori Vivi, and a few other institutions that I met with or had some kind of contact with back when I was a little kid.
Okay, so you have experienced all the changes throughout the community.
I've experienced a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of people come and go, a lot of institutions come and go.
Yeah. And well, now currently you have a new foundation, which is Brida.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about Brida?
Yeah. What happened like 13 years ago, we started with Comité Noviembre, which has been around for 30 years now. So a few of us had already been like planting the idea that we needed to have a Puerto Rican artisan fair or event in the city because there were so many artists, especially artisans, and we felt that it was time to like start doing what they do in Puerto Rico, which is to hold artist fairs all over the island every weekend, and in New York too. You have artist fairs downtown in museums and stuff. But so what we did is we finally convinced Comité Noviembre to do that, and they contacted me and a few others. Actually, Bobby Gonzalez is the one who made the connection, and he's the one who heard about it, and he contacted me, and I got together with a couple of other artists, and we met with Comité Noviembre, and then we started the first Puerto Rican Artisan Fair here in New York in 2000 and I think it was 2007, and that went very well.
Okay.
So from there, right? So from there, from that artisan fair, we did it for several years, and then we decided, it's time that we do something a little bit more. The artists would come to the fair, and then they would be coming and calling me after the fair, asking me where can I exhibit my artwork, what is the next event coming up. I want to be able to sell my craft. I want to be able to sell my masks, my jewelry, whatever. And so we felt that is because there's no organization that is giving them that service. So that was the idea, to form an organization of Puerto Rican artists to service the needs of the Puerto Rican artists, at the same time promote the artists and promote Puerto Rican arts. There was the Association of Hispanic Arts at one time for like 25 years, and they closed their doors. So once they closed their doors, that's when a lot of the artists were like, hey, what are we going to do? So some of them were coming to me, and that's how Brida was born.
And you have many projects in place, I guess.
Yeah, we have a lot of things that we do. We put out a bulletin every so often. Whenever something comes up, we put out a bulletin giving the artists who are members information, and also the community that is interested in the arts. give them information about events that are coming up, events that they can go and buy, Puerto Rican crafts, and stuff like that.
Is this open also to other artists that are not Puerto Ricans?
No,
Okay.
it's not. It's basically promoting Puerto Rican artists and the arts. We do collaborate with other artists. We participate in the Junta Hispana Festival, which is held in Queens every year. And we collaborate with other artists from other nationalities. But we feel that we need to support each other.
Yeah.
And, everybody supports each other. And if we don't do it, nobody will.
Of
Nobody
course.
else will. So that's why the organization is basically for the Puerto Rican artists. But, we welcome support and collaboration with other artists. That's not a problem.
So what inspires you so much about the Puerto Rican heritage, the cultural heritage? Because I read that it was very inspiring to know. I want you to share that with the audience.
Well, I guess it was my grandmother. She was always like, she's basically the one who brought me up. I had my mother, but my mother was always working. But my grandmother was always, saying, hey, you should be proud. Puerto Rico is a great country. We have some great people. You're going to be a great man one day, and this and that. So that's what kind of inspired me to develop a greater love for my culture. And it basically allowed me to want to learn more about it. So
at one time you also had semi-underground.
Yeah.
Right,
Semi-Underground was a bookstore here in El Barrio. It was around for a couple of years. Again, that was something I did in my spare time. So it was around for a couple of years. We did a lot of events. I counted about 150 events. Book signings, comedy shows, films, all kinds of stuff. Anything to bring people into the bookstore so that they can buy our books, T-shirts, and whatever, so that we can keep our doors open and continue to serve the community.
Right.
So that was a great experience because it allowed us to meet a lot of artists and give a start to a lot of artists.
Great. So speaking of T-shirts, you're also a designer and you have a line of T-shirts. Can you talk to us about the signs, the symbols that you are inspiring?
Well, being a graphic artist, it allows you to do a lot of stuff. That's the only reason I've been able to do the bookstore. I've been able to do the artisan fair, and I've been able to do whatever I do because I do the promotion. And without the promotion, you have nothing. The promotion allows you to do the postcards, allows you to do the website, allows you to do social media. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff, and that has allowed me to do a lot of this stuff. So, what was your question again?
Well, I see all these symbols. Can you talk to us about the symbols that you create? Because they're very special, particular.
Yeah, no, I got in touch with the Taino graphics. Being a graphic artist, I was like, wow, this is great. I love it. And we can do a lot of stuff with it. So I started adapting some of these graphics.
Right.
And I used to go to Puerto Rico and buy crafts that had Taino symbols and all that stuff. And in the process, I learned what they meant because people would ask me, what is this that I'm buying? So. And then putting them on T-shirts just made it easier for me. I didn't have to go and spend money getting to Puerto Rico and bringing the stuff back. I would just produce it here. So yeah, the Taino graphics is like a great way to say that you're Puerto Rican or that you're Dominican or Cuban or Jamaican even, because that's all from the Caribbean. And I learned a lot about this from my buddy, Bobby Gonzalez.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about what we are showing back here?
Yeah. These two actually started out as photographs.
Okay.
Right. This one is a photograph of Atabey, right? And this graphic is a symbol that is found inscribed in a rock in Caguana in Utuado, Puerto Rico. Yeah. And this is known as the mother of Madre de las Aguas, the fertility symbol also. Yeah. The actual size is a little bit bigger than what you see here. But yeah, just from the picture, I just changed the colors and I added some other graphics on the side. But that's, again, another symbol that signifies that you're in touch with your Taino, with your heritage. This one also. This one also comes from a photo that I took of another Taino sacred object. And again, I put it on the computer, changed the colors, did a few things here and there, and voila, that's what I got.
There's work
Oh,
that
by
you
the
have
way,
done.
this was also the cover of a book that
Oh.
Bobby wrote. He wrote a book about the Taino, and it was called Taino Zen. I said, hey, this looks like Buddha. Well, let's use this. This is perfect.
It is a symbol. It's like a meditation piece, actually.
Yeah.
Yes. And well, talk to us about the work you have done for the MTA, because that's something very different, but you were involved with your photography.
Yeah, the MTA is where I spent about the last 19 years. I was as a subcontractor at the MTA, working on a project called the East Side Access Project. Basically, it's a project to bring people who live in Long Island, but work in the Upper East Side, bring them directly. Because right now, if you live in Long Island, you come to the West Side. Then you take a taxi or you walk to
Right.
the Upper East Side. So that was a project that they started, years and years ago. And it's not even done yet. I've been on it 19 years. They're projecting to complete it in 2022. And so I was like the graphic artist for the project. I would do whatever I needed to do in order to make their reports and public documents look professional. But I would also go down into the tunnels that we were building and take pictures. I did that several times. Sometimes it was a little rough because it was like basically like walking through tracks and through mud and rocks and everything. And and with the equipment, with a tripod, hard hat, everything. And sometimes in the beginning there was no elevator taking you down. We would walk to or go to 63rd Street and 2nd Avenue, there's an MTA building, and we would just go through a side door, and that was the entrance going down 19 flights into the tunnels. And that wasn't walking 19 flights, there was no elevator. So we would go there and I would take pictures. It was like a full construction site with cranes, cement trucks, all kinds of equipment, tractors, and a couple of thousand men and women in construction. So I would take pictures, and then I would have to walk up 19 flights. That's why I'm in good shape.
And you develop a whole series of photographs down there.
Yeah, because the pictures are fine and whatever, but then I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted people to look at the photos from a different angle, not just this is a construction, that's a crane, or that's a guy digging up some dirt and whatever. No, I would just give it a different look in the computer and add colors to it and make it something psychedelic looking. Yeah. So and that was fine. It was how I would entertain myself in between, going back and forth. And some people liked it. At a certain point, we decided to develop a little gallery space. So the first things that went up was my artwork. It was my idea, so I figured, hey,
Of course.
I'm going to put my work there. Yeah. So it was great, and I had a great time. 19 years. I want to say hello to all my co-workers at the East Side Access Project. I know they're still there, and
So currently, how's your creative process? How's your day for those who don't know you out there? What do you do to get inspired? How do you decide what you're going to do to create? You have so many different things that that you can go to.
I'm always busy, and I try to stay busy for different reasons. If I'm not busy, then I get depressed, and I'm like, I don't want to do anything and whatever. So I'm usually busy up until midnight.
Okay.
Then I have to slow down and go to sleep.
Okay, so you're very active.
But in the sleeping process, I get ideas. So that's where I get some inspiration.
Right. In Puerto Rico, of course. Right?
Yeah, no, I go to Puerto Rico and I go to different galleries and museums and see what's being created out there. And I get inspired by that. And, sometimes just by looking at, stuff that I'm reading, some of the graphics of the Taino, whatever, our African heritage also. I've developed a couple of designs with our African heritage as well. And I've always been interested in politics, so some of my subject matter is also very political.
Okay. Speaking of that, yesterday was the anniversary of the Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
How's the situation of the artists? Because usually when we speak about tragedies, of course we're concerned about the most immediate needs, but we forget about the artists.
Yeah. Yeah, the artists have, they suffered a lot actually in the beginning, just like everybody else. A lot of the artisans that are friends of mine, they were like desperate to find a place to actually create and make a living. A lot of them make a living by going to the plaza or to the malls, to the parks, set up their table and sell their arts and crafts. But after the hurricane, in the months after, there was nobody going to these places, nobody going to the plazas, to the parks and whatever. So they were like desperate to find a place that they can set up and make a living. Some of them ended up coming here. A lot of them moved to the U.S. A few of them moved here and actually have participated. Like last year, they participated in our artisan fair. But we've always had artists from Puerto Rico participating. But this time it was a little bit different because it was like they actually were kind of desperate to participate and take part in the event and make some money so they can help their families. Some of them ended up moving here because they couldn't make a living over there. So
Are there any projects coming up for PRITA for
projects?
this year?
Well, we have several. We have the fair again coming up. It's going to be the 13th year that we have the National Puerto Rican Artisan Fair, which we do with Comité Noviembre when we started it. And that's going to be on the Saturday before Thanksgiving, which is November 17. And then we have events that are taking place in the community and several artists participate in those. We have a group exhibition that we're planning for next year. I'm also planning another exhibition with work that's a little different than what you see here. And we have several other things that we've done, a Three Kings celebration that we do in January. So we have a whole list of regular things that we've done.
And what's that new series about that you're preparing?
Excuse me?
What's the new series that you're preparing? What is it about?
It's
Can we know?
Based on work like this one, which is actually just taking the Taino sacred objects, putting them on the screen and copying them, moving them around, giving them different color, and then putting those together like tiles. So I think I leave it up to you, so you can imagine what it's going to be like.
Yes. Any advice for artists out there who are watching now? What would you want to give to them? What message that comes from your heart to them?
Yeah, don't be afraid to bring your art out to the public. Don't be afraid to let other people see it. Art is a very personal thing, and sometimes we don't want to share it, but that's kind of how a lot of artists started anyway.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that we've done with PRITA is actually give opportunities to artists to bring their art and share it with the community. So yeah, just don't be afraid. Just do whatever your heart tells you, and then share it. Don't keep it to yourself.
And any Puerto Rican artist can approach you and be part of PRITA. Is there any requirements, or?
No, not really. It could be a beginner. You don't have to be a professional artist. Could be a beginner. Just as long as you wanna develop and you wanna grow, that's all it takes. That's the first step.
And all disciplines. You receive all disciplines.
Yeah.
Visual artists, performing artists.
All disciplines. Performing visual artists. Mostly visual artists, but we do have some performing artists as well. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's so exciting. And I love the colors, and I love what you're doing with the work because it's coming, it's a modern twist to your symbolism. So it's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it's artwork that started maybe 1,000 years ago.
Right.
And now I'm hoping that people will see that I'm bringing it to, a new age, new era.
Yes.
Yeah, a new way to look at it also.
Yes. And is there any message that you write with the work, or you just show the works?
No, I don't write any messages. I let
Just
people.
leave it to the
I
imagination.
let people develop their own messages.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's really beautiful.
And people usually they look at this stuff and they stare at it long enough and they see things in there. So I know that something is in. There's some message there.
Yes. And you are currently in El Barrio. You were born. You grew up here.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I grew up in Washington Heights. So when you grew up in New York, you have that love for New York and then for your culture, which is what you're sharing here.
Mm-hmm.
So I really appreciate that. I think when an artist is sharing their heritage, is teaching the world, where they come from. They're giving the best of themselves. So that's really wonderful and something to admire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to interview you.
Yeah. Anytime you want to interview me, just give me a call. No problem.
Absolutely. Well, and I want to thank everybody for watching this episode. I hope you have found great inspiration in Luis' story. It's a beautiful story. And it's good to know that a lot of people who made a real difference, it's not because they're privileged or advantaged or special. Many, many, many people come from regular backgrounds, some of them from disadvantaged families, crushing circumstances, and initially limited capabilities, but have found ways to pick themselves up and rise above their circumstances to transform their own lives and those around them. So I thank you so much for rising up, for being such an incredible example for all artists, not only Puerto Ricans, for all Latinos and artists out there. And thanks everybody for watching. Stay inspired.